Welcome to ON Devs. Now, a question that I see rather frequently in beginner programming groups is the question, what is the difference between return and print in Python? I'm not sure why people ask this question. Maybe someone who was teaching programming gave the impression that these two things are somehow similar. So today I'd like to settle that question, hopefully for you once and for all. Now, let's start with print. Print is probably the first command you are taught when you're being taught how to program. And you're told, I have a new Python file here, and you're told to type print hello world. Close string, close parenthesis, press F5 on your keyboard to run it. It asks you to save. Yes, and it prints hello world. It shows here on the screen hello world. Okay, if I go here to my terminal, this black screen on the right, okay, now I'm in the correct folder. I'm on a Mac, so I type Python 3 to specify which version of Python I want to use, and my file name is called myfile.py, and it shows on the screen hello world. So print is for showing something on the screen, like this on the left or like this on the right. Print shows something on the screen for you, the user or the programmer, to read. Now, let's talk about return. First of all, return is used only inside functions. So if I type here return 3, for example, return 3, and I press F5 to run it, it tells me return outside function. It gives me an error because you must use return only inside a function. So let's create a function, def my fun. It receives 2 arguments, first num, second num. You should name your variables in a meaningful way. Give your variables meaningful names so that you can easily tell, or you or someone else can easily tell what those variables are doing or what they are for. Now this function simply adds up these 2 numbers. First num plus second num. And this total is put in another variable. So my total equals first num plus second num. And because we want to see on the screen what the result is, we say print my total. Okay, so print is for showing something on the screen. Then, of course, to run the function, we must call it. So my fun, and we pass 2 numbers to it, 1 and 2. So if I run this, it shows us hello world, our first statement here, and it shows us this my total. Let's just be clear that this is from inside. This is inside the function, or rather total inside the function. It tells us, let's run that again. So total inside the function is 3. This hello world, of course, is this print statement. Alright, now so far we have just used print only, and we have used it to show something inside on our screen. Rather, we have used print to show something on our screen. The work of print is to show something on the screen. Return, how do we use return? Supposing we wanted to use the result of this function elsewhere in our program. So for example, again we have another print here, print total outside the function is, okay, so we need to put this in a variable, and I call this variable outside total just because it's outside the function. So outside total is this function with these values. So we copy that, paste it there, close that, press F5 on the keyboard, and it tells us total outside the function is none. Total inside the function was 3, total outside is none. That means this outside total is showing as none. Why is that? It is because this total is not being passed to this variable. The 3 which is here is not being passed to this variable. So how do we make it pass it? By using the return statement. So we say here return my total. I press F5 on the keyboard and run it again, and this time it tells me total outside the function is 3. So the work of return is to pass the result of a function back to whatever called that function. What called our function? Let me show line numbers here. Let me show line numbers there. This statement number 8 says run this function, this one here, and put the result in this variable. So this variable is what we are showing over here. Run this function and put the result of the function in this variable. So before, when it was showing us none, this result was not being put in the variable because we had not put the return statement. So the return statement sends the result of a function to whatever called that function. That is the work of return. It sends the result of a function back to whatever called that function. Print shows something on the screen. Return, number 1, works only inside a function, and number 2, it sends the result of that function back to whatever called that function. Bonus point, the return statement also ends a function. So if I have here, this is another line. If I've put the print function here to print this statement, if I run this, I press F5, we don't see that statement printed here. This statement saying this is another line. We don't see it printed because the function ends with return. If I move this return statement, down here and I run this again, we now see that this line appears. This is another line. Why? Because the function does not end until it meets the return statement, if a return statement is there. The return statement ends a function. Remember that also. That's just a bonus point. So the difference between print and return is that print shows something on the screen, while return sends back the result of a function or sends a value from a function to whatever called that function. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please visit owendevs.com. We'll be having more tutorials there and even one-on-one training very soon. Thank you for watching.